Hey, thanks for stopping by. My name's Thomas, and this is Zarba Audio Projects, and I just want to start off by saying thank you. This is January 2026. It was about 5 years ago this month that I started the Zarba Audio Projects YouTube channel, and just this morning I happened to notice that I just hit 4,000 subscribers, so I know there are a lot of YouTube channels you can check out, but I thank you for watching these. If you've been watching for a long time or just found the channel, either way, thanks. Today we're talking about this. This is the Dayton Audio MX5-22 5¼ inch Max-X subwoofer. Does it look familiar? It probably should, because it is almost identical to this. This is probably something you've seen if you've been in DIY audio for any length of time. This is the Tang Band W51138SMF 5¼ inch subwoofer. And the resemblance is it's pretty strong. What I think happened is I think Dayton Audio said, I think we can make a competitor for the Tang Band W5, but make it better, make it with updated technology and newer materials that we have and all the things that we've learned from making drivers over the years. I think we can make a better Tang Band W5. So I think that's what they've done. To look at the specs side by side, they're almost identical. The size is basically identical. They both list as 5¼ inch subwoofers, but when you actually measure them, they're really close. They both have 4 holes. They both have inverted dust caps. They both have magnets of approximately the same size. So let's get into the similarities and differences. The Dayton has 2 2-ohm voice coils. So you can wire this up for 1 ohm or 4 ohms, depending on how you're going to use it. There's more flexibility with this. Plus, you've got opposed tinsel leads, so there won't be any possibility of, a very reduced possibility of rocking. Whereas it's possible that has been a problem with the Tang Band in the past, since there's just one set of tinsel leads. This isn't going to have that problem. Okay, excursion. The Dayton Audio Max-X has 9.3 millimeters of excursion. Tang Band lists as 9.25 millimeters, so basically the same. The Max-X says it had 50 watts, Tang Band 40 watts. Voice coil, both 1.25 inches. The Max-X has a copper-clad aluminum. So it's copper on the outside, aluminum on the inside, whereas the Tang Band has solid copper voice coil. But in this case, I think it helps the Dayton Audio because the sensitivity for this, for the Max-X, is 84.3 decibels. And I think that might be part of the reason why, the extra weight. I don't know. There's other differences, I'm sure, but that might be one of the things. So you let me know in the comments if I'm right or wrong on that. Surface area for this is listed as 84.4 square centimeters. For some reason, the Tang Band's higher, 94 square centimeters. But you tell me, I'm holding them up surround to surround, and they're the same. So whatever one is, the other one is too. They're exactly the same, basically. So that their stats are wrong. I think Tang Bands, or one of them is wrong. The FS for the Max-X, 45 hertz. The FS for the Tang Band, 45 hertz. The VAS for the Max-X is 0.172 cubic feet. The VAS for the Tang Band, 0.17 cubic feet. The same, basically the same. This one weighs 3.7 pounds. This one says it weighs 3.75. Again, I think the major difference between these two is this has a solid copper voice coil, this does not. So those are most of the techie specs that are almost identical. The magnet sizes appear to be about the same. The height is about the same. The Dayton has a built-in gasket for mounting, whereas the Tang Band doesn't. The Tang Band has one central vent in the magnet, whereas the Dayton has a central and then peripheral vents as well. The Dayton also has venting in the actual voice coil itself, both above and below where the spider is. The Tang Band has venting holes below the spider, but not above the spider. So I think the Dayton Audio is going to be able to run cooler. Also, just as far as looks are concerned, I think the Dayton Audio looks a little bit better. I've never thought this looked bad, but in comparison to the Dayton, I think the Tang Band looks a little rougher. And the reason for that is you could see the shiny part around where the surround meets the actual basket of this one. There's a little shiny area. That is actually glue you're looking at, and it's not perfect. It's not a big deal, but I just think the Dayton looks a little better. And also the cone itself on this Tang Band, it has an inverted dust cap, and there's a little bit of the cone showing there, if you can see right there. And there is not on the Dayton Audio. The cone and dust cap are hidden under the lip of the surround. So that looks a little bit cleaner. Plus, the surround and the rubber cover for the stamped metal frame, I think are one piece. In the literature online, it did say that it was one piece. That would kind of make sense, I think, actually. So I think it's a good idea. This just has a cleaner look to it. Even the surround, the way it kind of curves as it comes off the cone into the roll, that just to me looks a little bit cleaner than this does the Tang Band. But to be honest with you, they're both good, and we're not making little subwoofers like this to sit and stare at it. They're not going to be on the desk. We're not going to be staring. Of course, we want it to look as nice as possible, but this does have the edge there as far as I'm concerned. Now, I'll tell you the price too. Dayton Audio Max-X 5¼ inch subwoofers retails $49.98, so it's $50. The Tang Band retails for $51.90. So $50 versus $52, basically the same. Now, how are they going to be used? These are probably going to be used as small box subwoofers for a computer setup or something like that, or a small room. That's how we've used them in the past. And in fact, there is a subwoofer that's very well known, utilizes this driver. It's called the Voxel by Paul Carmody. If you Google that, you're going to see a billion hits. But it uses this one in a 7-liter box with a 1.5 inch by 9 inch long vent. So in that size, and that's a shoebox size. I'm 6'2". That's smaller than my shoe boxes, but that's a small enclosure. And you can get really decent bass out of it. You can get into the 30 hertz range with a box that size with the Tang Band driver. You can with this as well, and we'll look at some of the models that I've worked up, but if you put both of these drivers in that same voxel size box, this gives you better performance. This one has a peak, and we'll look at that. As far as going in a smaller box, I'm thinking probably this one might have the edge. But this one, the Max-X, I think that's going to dig a little bit lower. I think it's going to get a little bit louder. And I think if your box doesn't have to be exactly 7 liters, say you want to only go up to 12, I think this one might be a little better. And this one digs quite a bit deeper, and it's a bit more efficient. Apples to apples, they're not exactly apples to apples as far as their performance is concerned. Size and looks, they're really close. I mean, from a distance, you really wouldn't be able to tell the difference, I don't think. But this, I think, is going to really be a contender in the small subwoofer market. I think Dayton Audio, like I said, I think Dayton Audio said, let's take the Tang Band W5 and let's redo it with all of the modern technology and knowledge that we have, and make the best Tang Band W5 we could. And this is what they came up with, because it is just so similar to that thing. You can tell. They just said, let's just make a better one. And I think that's a great idea. They priced it the same, has similar specs, and I think it's going to really be a good subwoofer. I'm planning on designing some small box for this, but I'm not going to go as small as the Voxel, because the performance for this is such that it really needs a bigger box to get the most out of it. So that's what I have planned in the future. This is just a quick look. We're going to run some signal through both of these things and kind of see where they're at noise-wise, just in free air. And then we'll wrap it up. Well, if you can't tell by now, I do kind of like the new Dayton Max-X 5¼ inch subwoofer. I think it's going to do well. It's a little bit cleaner, I think, than the Tang Band in the free air sweeps there that you heard. And in my opinion, it made noise, but it was not quite as obvious. And this here is the graph of the Voxel box, 7-liter vented with a 1.5 inch by 9 inch vent. The red line is the actual Tang Band in that enclosure, and the blue line is the new Dayton Max-X in that same enclosure. As you can see, that peak's pretty big, and that's just not going to do. So, could you stick it in the voxel box? Yeah, but I don't think you should. I just think it's not going to perform very well. It's too big of a peak. So what I did was I came up with this. It's an 11-liter box with a 1.5 by 14-inch long vent. And that's the blue line. And again, the red line's the voxel in comparison. But as you can see with this, it's a larger box. Yeah, going from 7 to 11 liters is a bit bigger. It's a little longer, basically. But I think that gives you quite a bit more bass extension. I mean, your F3's, where's that? It looks like it's 26, 27 hertz. I mean, that's a lot lower than 42 hertz of the voxel. And you can actually use it because if you look at this, again, this is the Tang Band in the voxel in the red and the new Dayton Max-X in the blue. You're not reaching X-Max until about 25 hertz or so. And you're not like totally obliterating it. And that's with 40 watts. You're going to get some decent output down that low, which is kind of surprising, actually. So this is the vent velocity for both, and the reason I mention this is because most people are probably used to the amount of turbulence that the voxel vent produces, and that would be in the red. And this design here is basically the same. It's a little bit lower in frequency, but it's just a touch more. So it's pretty close. I messed with it for a couple hours on and off, and I think this is going to be a half decent box. So it looks like 11 liters with one vent that's 1.5 inch inner diameter by about 14 inches, and you're going to want to have both radius pretty heavily, of course, on the exit, on the inside and outside. But it's going to give you some pretty half-decent response, and at half-decent volumes. I think this is a pretty good driver. Is it a direct replacement for the Tang Band W5? No, because the Tang Band can use a slightly smaller box and get away with it. But this, I think you're going to get quite a bit more performance for not much more enclosure space. So I think it's a good trade-off. So that's it for this one. Just wanted to give you a quick demonstration of the new Dayton Audio MX5-22 5.25 inch Max-X subwoofer, a direct competitor for the Tang Band W5. So what do you think? Do you think this new Max-X 5.25 inch subwoofer from Dayton is going to dethrone the long-standing king of the small subwoofers, the Tang Band W5, or not? What kind of projects would you think you'd use this in? I'd like to hear your feedback in the comments. Well, that's it for this one. Thanks a lot for watching. And again, thanks for 5 years and 4,000 subscribers. I do appreciate it. Have a good one, and we'll see you next time. Bye now.